My fellow screamers, welcome. This is my first review that I'm going to be doing today. This is a special kind of review. It's my first one. So really this, being my first time, I want everybody to kind of like comment on this, like it. If you don't like it, comment on why. Maybe, perhaps, that I'm not doing a very good job at this. It would be quite cool to know, your perceptions of this. If you think somehow, I'm not, doing a good job at it, maybe I'm veering away from the content or the context or anything like that, please just let me know. Just comment on it and give me a shout, So for my first review, it's going to be something that has been pervasively reviewed before. It's quite ubiquitous, really, that it's been done on YouTube countless times throughout many years since the release of this film. This is purely because it's quite controversial. Well, not quite. It's an incredibly controversial film. It really has polarized a lot of horror viewers out there. Some love it, some hate it, some think it shouldn't even exist. I've spoken to quite a few people where they just think, I just don't see the point in it. It's just brutal, it's just nasty, it really hasn't much point to it, stuff like that. And I do definitely, I don't disregard these views at all. I think, that you can accept that. You can really accept the fact that people would perceive this film to be something that shouldn't be allowed to exist. I totally get it. And it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. So, yeah, so we'll get going. So, Melancholie de Engel. It translates in English as The Angel's Melancholy. Very interesting title, and you can really go in many ways about how to really read the title. The context of the title has many layers, has many concepts. You can go from one way or another direction about it. Until you've watched the film, you can come away and think, okay, I kind of get why it's called that. But we'll go into that a little bit more within the review. Anyway, so we'll start, basically. I'm reviewing this from the distribution from Diabolique DVD, who have recently, about 2 months ago now, I'd say, they released a special edition, limited edition, I believe, Blu-ray of the film. And it is a beautiful rendition of the film. It's an excellent copy. The restoration of the Blu-ray, the high definition, and everything is amazing. And being subtitled as well, it helps. I remember watching the film for the first time, pure German, no subtitles. Hadn't a clue what was going on, but it still gripped me. Just purely by the cinematography, purely by the performances of the people within the film, and purely, really, the content. Really, I was just thinking, how far can this go? I knew it wasn't long ago that I watched a Serbian film before this film, and I thought, I think I've watched the worst of the worst. I think. Oh no, wait a minute. No, this film. Okay, anyway, so here it is. It's this copy that I will be reviewing. Beautiful concept art by Martin Trafford. Absolutely amazing. Who I will be discussing with about his artwork and stuff on this YouTube channel. I'll say that's probably within the new year. So Martin, if you're watching this, amazing. Absolutely amazing concept art. You got everything within the composition, the framing, everything here. You really have kind of captured the beautiful nastiness of this film in one picture. It's amazing. It's a beautifully made copy. So slip disc, kind of thing. So you come into this artwork too, which is also really, really good. If you've seen the film, you would really you'd know really what this concept is about here. So yeah, Blu-ray special features on here are really good too. The amazing thing, really, one of the bonus features is revisiting Melancholie de Engel, which is made by documentarian and journalist Magnus Blomdahl. Magnus Blomdahl, also, this is a release from Black Lava Entertainment, which you can still buy. It's still available via the site of Black Lava if you wanted this edition. However, on this is included as a bonus feature on that release, which is an amazing idea, really. Which is also released with beautiful introduction by both filmmakers. I think it's very important documentary, revisiting Melancholie de Engel, because I think it really does create substance towards Dora's work and what Dora really wanted to, create, and give him better understanding as well of his work, and why he goes about such kind of concepts and why he wants to delve into such kind of nihilistic nastiness, and you do get it. You capture a great portrait. It's so short, but you do start to understand Dora's work and his character, his views, and how he works as a creative. This also, by the way, is Marian Trafford's work, I believe. It's again, he works his composition so well. It's beautifully done. Anyway, so let's get back to the main feature, and that's what we're on about here. So, Melancholie de Engel, Angel's Melancholy. This is saying about a plot. It is very thin. This is about two people who meet up for one last kind of meet up where they want to kind of kind of divulge in their past and also indulge in their ways. And their ways seem to be of a peculiar, abnormal kind. Their viewpoints really about life are incredibly nihilistic. To me, it seems as though they get together so that they can purge, almost everything against society, basically. Is almost a cleansing for them. And this cleansing involves murder, mutilation, abduction, infanticide, everything you can think of that society would negate straight off. The brutality they seem to embrace. They embrace brutality of man. They embrace death. They embrace disintegration. They embrace mutilation. There's everything here really that they kind of indulge in is something incredibly anti-societal. It's as if when they go away to this kind of farmhouse, this dilapidated house in the middle of nowhere in a rural kind of vicinity, where they seem to go into their acts that they seem to participate in and that like to embrace. This also involves, shitting, pissing, fucking, it's everything really that a lot of people would just go, nah, that's not for me, mate. I'll go and get a cup of tea. See you. I'll show you. But anyway, I shouldn't really do that on these videos. Anyway, so it's almost as if these two people have created a cult of some kind of their own. They have their own belief system, whatever that belief could be. Probably they don't have beliefs. However, a lot of the narration and script in the film is of a philosophical nature. So a lot of stuff that they talk about, you know, it is about theoretically, you know, about a lot of it is about death. One of the people who are meeting up for the last time, hence why it's the last time, he is dying. He's dying of something that we don't really know of. He's just basically disintegrating both mentally and physically. So, in a way, Dora captures this film. He both kind of significantly creates something beautiful, but also something incredibly nasty. And the music for the film is incredibly beautiful. There's these amazing symphonies that's created throughout the film that creates this context where you just think, this music's really nice. And then you're watching something incredibly horrific. This really is it's a nod to, I'd say, 70s B movies, 70s kind of driving films. Kind of a Holocaust. It had an amazing theme tune and beautiful music throughout. From what you were watching, what you were perceiving was in really disturbing and unnerving kind of content. So I think really that is really literally what, you know, Marian Dora, the filmmaker of this film, which I will go into in a second, I think wanted to capture. I think he does have this kind of nostalgic ideal about his films. Even the look, the cinematography, it really does look like something it should have been shot in the 70s when really it's being shot in the 2000s. I know he has a big association and a big love for the work of Jess Franco, which I can see now, like cinematography wise, that he has, you know, a massive, you know, inspiration by his films. Anyway, Marian Dora, German filmmaker. Marian Dora isn't his real name. He is pseudonymous. He kind of likes to work on his anonymity, probably due to the content that he creates. I think he really wants to kind of like keep that separate from personal to creative. So Marian Dora, I believe, is an anagram of his actual real name. So when his films do have the content of some animal cruelty, and, you know, some of the content, you know, he creates with his actors and stuff could really veer upon, you know, being taken to court, basically. There is some stuff in his films that sometimes, you know, I dislike, but he isn't making films for people to like. He's making films to push people up on the edge, and it's about the edge. That is what he makes his work about. He wants people to really think, you know, about the nature of man, and that pretty much predominantly is his work. It is about the nature of man and inhumanity in man. He really doesn't shy away from, you know, certain stuff that a lot of other filmmakers really wouldn't dream to touch upon. Dora really does kind of, he looks upon people who, of a murderous kind of, you know, nihilistic edge. And even the sex in his films are not what you'd call erotic. They're almost kind of perverted in a kind of sadistic way. And really, he's not making sex erotic. It's not about that. I think really he's still looking at the nature of man and the barbarism that comes with man. Almost in the kind of primordial kind of way. He's looking at the primal instincts of man and the primal kind of desires of man too. And I think really what that captures really well in Melancholie de Engel. This is his magnum opus. This is his film where he thinks, right, I'm really going above and beyond now with really what I want to show, with what I really want to indulge in. I want to show this. I don't want anything to kind of prevent me from going as far as I want to. But let's go further. So I believe due to the content that's revealed in Revisiting Melancholie de Engel, he talks about the production of the film and how really it nearly killed him. So sometimes art, people go so far in art to kind of reach, the philosophical aspects of their work. They really want to, get to the point where they think like, this is what I want to ascertain. This is what I want to, kind of take and indulge in and embrace. But some people go too far. So Marian Dora was talking about how like some of the performers had an excessive drug intake, I believe. Some of that halted the production. They were filming constantly. I believe it was 2 weeks, I believe. But there was an excessive amount of, drinking, smoking, drugs, and people just not really adhering to Dora's direction. He had a hard time. A lot of sleepless nights, drinking himself. Almost a lot of people were on the edge of oblivion here whilst making of the film. There was some stuff that he did film that didn't really end up being in the film due to, believe it or not, some rules and some stuff really you shouldn't do. I believe they did a scene in a real morgue and they did things with dead bodies. So that has been filmed, I know, and that wasn't included in the end product. I think it was something to do with Frank Carstens that was kind of reluctant about it being in the film, so Dora decided to keep it out, and I kind of get that. They also go into kind of some of the stuff like Dora's relation with Carsten, who's one of the main characters in the film. They seem to have gone to a point of no return. They kind of their relationship deteriorated really basically from this film. So anyway, let's go back to the context of the film. So two people, and they meet up. They meet these two girls at carnival or fair. These two girls don't reluctantly go with them. They actually are fascinated by these two people. They go with them, and they go out into the country to this rural farmhouse, which they have a past. They have a past in this house. All these kind of diabolical aberrations that they've participated in the past still reside within this household. And all the nightmares still reside there. So it's almost as if the house is almost the corpus, would one say, of their mind. This basically is a pure manifestation of their ways. So as it comes to the fore, they kind of create this relationship. The girls start to trust them, especially one, the older girl. She seems to be fascinated by their nature and their philosophy, as it were. She is very integral to their ways, whereas the other girl is a lot younger. She almost is kind of just taken in a forceful way. She's just there because the older girl's there. She she's kind of an not as a negative point, kind of underdeveloped character, really. She's a bit of a background character, but I can see why she's there. She's an innocent character, and she's kind of new to this kind of way of life, and almost, because she doesn't persevere to, adhere to their philosophical ways, she's kind of the outsider here. So one of them, the oldest girl, she really does get into, the philosophy of them, and she has her own journey. She has her own kind of psychological way of, kind of coming into this way of life. So there are other visitors that come to the house. There's an older man and a girl who happens to be incapacitated to a wheelchair. She has a colostomy bag. She needs to be looked after, basically. And at this point you think, oh my god, this girl who's incredibly vulnerable in so many ways, both psychologically and physically, who are with these people who couldn't give a shit about anything. Like, they have no care for anything apart from themselves and their indulgences. There is another lady there as well. This just kind of seems to be a dominatrix type personality. She participates with them sexually and almost in the violence as well. She seems to gratify all this sexually as well. She seems to be of a very sadistic nature. But however, further on into film, it almost turns into a degenerate nightmare. So throughout the film, like the dialogue and stuff, the dialogue really is purely of a philosophical nature. Some of it's quotations from a book. I'm not sure what that book is, really. And it is a book that he does carry around through the film. And I'm unsure of the author. Anybody who knows of that, please comment on this video. Let me know if you have any, any information about that. That would be great. So, on the poetic scale, the dialogue is purely poetic. It's purely nihilistic poetry throughout, really. None of it really has a linear sense. The film is non-linear in a sense, anyway. Apart from the disintegration of the personalities and the people who are in the film, I suppose that is a linear narrative in a kind of character kind of way. So that's kind of interesting. So purely, really, I think, this film really is Dora's kind of look into his own belief system. I think he really does find the nihilistic nature of man incredibly fascinating. And I think this film really is, a pure... the film provokes, the film manifests into a pure sickness that you couldn't ever really imagine. So you've got scenes here, people are shitting, people are making out with a dead pig. You've got slaughterhouse scenes, you've got bugs that are just basically decimated by the characters, which you could put into animal cruelty. There's a questionable scene where, a cat is decapitated. That scene is troublesome. However, people who have looked into this, Dora has said, like, that, that it wasn't real. But when you watch it, you just think, don't know. Could be, there is a tear coming out of that cat's eye. I'm just saying that, and that's a real troublesome effect. I find that scene incredibly hard, and I don't really, I can't say that I accept animal cruelty to be in part of films. But if you're going to make a film about such kind of nihilistic nature, then how far do you go? How far do you go to kind of, make that work, to make that feel real, to make it not only just a performance art, but it to be exist as a real thing. So this, there's a lot of filmmakers and creatives out there have belief systems and have things that they really want to kind of express and explore. They, there is a line. Dora doesn't seem to have a line, but this is why I do really like his work. I know from what I've said could be questionable, but he, some people like choose an idea for a film and they say, oh, what's this film about? It's about a couple who are lustfully entwined together, but then you watch it and there's no sex in it, and they really haven't explored any idea of that. It's kind of like that. If you're going to make a film about violence, brutality, and just inhuman nastiness, then that is Melancholie de Engel. That is the very label of it. That's what it's about. And then thinking about the title, Melancholie de Engel, the angel's melancholy, like I said before, I'd explore in a later part. You got to think about, so theological, is it theological? There is some theological elements in the film, but I think really it's about the corruption of innocence. I think it's, when you think of angels, you think of, cherubim, you think of heaven, you think of innocence and stuff like that. But then you think of the melancholy, you think of the context of the word of melancholy. This is sadness, is it suffering, is it, of that kind of nature? And yes, it is. It's about the corruption of innocence, I think. It's the corruption of, of man. You could also say it's about the fallen angel meaning Satan. You could go really deep into the title, and I think once you watch the film, you're full of dread. Honestly, you are. And Angel's Melancholy really, really does suit the nature of the film, and you come away understanding why it's called that. So going to about this special edition, which is the director's approved extended version, even though it's already at I think it's nearly 3 hours anyway, so 164 minutes, the film, which by the end of it you're drained. Not drained because it's just due to the length, you're drained because of the actual nature of the work. You're drained by what you've just explored and what you've witnessed and what you've seen. The film itself has a very depressive and oppressive kind of feel to it. And I think, it is kind of quoted in Revisiting Melancholie de Engel, that when Magnus says to Dora that, do you think this film's only suitable to certain people? People who may find this as somewhat of almost a cleansing of sorts, to certain people. And I kind of do agree with that. It's only suitable to certain people because it has this kind of, when I've watched the film, when I've witnessed it, it almost feels as though I've, not to sound weird, but I just think I feel kind of something's lifted off me anyway. And even though the film is depressive and oppressive, there's no smiling here, there's no laughter in it, there's no happiness. It's pure dread. But it does kind of lift something off me after watching it. And I think that there is kind of a bit of a truth to that Magnus Blomdahl kind of mentions in the film. I think that's a very, very true point. So this Blu-ray edition is amazing. It really does improve the cinematography, even though that Dora's cinematography mostly is of a 70s vibe, a 70s feeling. Like I said before, Jess Franco is the biggest inspiration. He does have that feeling, and to see that in high definition, it's a beautiful thing. It's beautifully restored. Everything about it is amazing. So these two murderous people, they going about their kind of ways, and almost as a ritualistic fashion, some of it. So they still tend to explore their inhuman ways. So one of the guys is really sick. He keeps breaking down. He keeps kind of convulsing, having his convulsions. And with his sickness and the sickness of the mind, I suppose it really kind of illustrates really the sickness of this individual is the manifestation of the sickness that they've explored and indulged in the past. And one of the other girls, the oldest girl, starts to get into their philosophy even more. She watches a film that they filmed of this woman who was pregnant and is brutally beaten. The fetus is then brutally beaten. She kind of becomes sexualized, becomes aroused by this video, and then you think, right, okay, she's one of them now. She's become a part of this kind of ritualistic, culty, kind of nihilistic vibe. She kind of enjoys it. She likes it. She likes the sadistic manner that they kind of enjoy. The other girl, however, is is beaten, raped, and basically really just and murdered, basically, just because she doesn't really become a part of their systematic nihilistic ways. So she was too innocent. She couldn't really grasp that kind of nature. So it's all about that. I think it's all about that. The film really does kind of philosophically really get into that vibe of man is primal, we're still primal, society is a bunch of lies, and screw those lies, screw morals, the moralistic kind of vision of society. It's all thrown out the window. This is what you truly desire, so do it. I suppose it almost has a Crowley kind of idealism to it. So like Aleister Crowley, Abia Philema, it does have that vibe to it. Perhaps Marian, Dora, if you ever watch this video, maybe you should make a film about Aleister Crowley. That'd be really good. Anyway, it does have that kind of vibe to it. However, this is based on true crime. That is briefly mentioned in Revisiting Melancholie de Engel, the documentary, about a couple of dug up graves, excavated some corpses of children in a rural area, and this became kind of big news in Germany. And it happened in this house that was nearby in a countryside in the middle of nowhere. So this became a bit of a treatise for Marian Dora's idea for the film, and that's where it all started, really. This is what inspired him to make this story. So, and that pretty much sums it up, really. It's going down to the very bones of it, so to speak. This film isn't for everyone. This film really is just for those who want to explore the true extreme nastiness of that extreme horror film can be. It is... You think you've seen a Serbian film probably, and you think, man, that is the most brutal film ever. It's definitely one of the most brutal films ever, and I will review it on here at some point in my own way. But then when you see Melancholie de Engel, as a filmmaker myself, etc., I can see it. It's a better made. It's a well-made film. It's beautifully conceived. It's beautifully done. Everything about it, has been a lot of thought put into it, despite the circumstances that they filmed it in. Marian Dora is a one-man crew. He really does control everything, and I mean everything. Couldn't ever imagine to work for a big studio. It's not his kind of way of working. So I'd like to think, like, I think Dora really does kind of look into Nietzsche's way of life, Nietzsche's philosophy even. You know, I think there's a lot of stuff in there that you could probably look at, like, in philosophy ways. Like his other films, Debris Documentaire, Voyage to Agatis, you know, so even his short films, Provocation. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's probably kind of true crime related too that he's interested in. We don't know much about Marian because he keeps to himself a lot. Keeps himself to himself, which is probably the best way. But when you come down to it, this even has horror fans. I don't think this is a film for horror fans. Really, I think it's a film for those who really want to explore something more than just a masked man killing babysitters and, you know, seeing something a bit gross. This is for people who kind of have more, people who enjoy something more thought-provoking. And it is a thought-provoking piece of cinematic art. That's what it is. It's a masterpiece that really, really indulges in the exploration of the desire of man, and the kind of primal instincts of man, whether wrong or right. You know, it's a fascinating film, and it'll always grip me every time I watch it. It really does. I've watched it 3 times now, and that's over the last few years, bearing in mind. Each time I watch it, it has to be a certain time, certain mode, certain, you know, you can't just think, it's Sunday afternoon, you know, I think I might just make a brew and watch Melancholie, Engel, why not? That's just not a film to watch on a Sunday afternoon. But, you know, it is basically the right time, the right place, the right frame of mind. Don't watch it if you're kind of not in the right mood or in a good mood. There's just no point. You're just forever going to the abyss. And that is pretty much it. You know, Nietzsche said, like, whoever looks into the abyss looks straight back into you. I know that's not quote for quote, but that's pretty much the film. You watch that, and it looks right into you. It has that effect to it. So, yeah, you know, I know this film has been reviewed over and over here on YouTube, but I really just wanted to review this edition. I really wanted to give a bit of a philosophical slant on the film. I hope that kind of made you think about it differently. Maybe perhaps you have different thoughts about it, different concepts about it. Please, man, just comment on the video. Give me a shout. We can chat about it further if you want. If you have different ideas about the film, I'm really, really happy to hear that. You know, I really want to look into that. I can discuss it more. Extreme horror films, you know, like, it's not for everyone, but to discuss them and to kind of create, you know, some kind of background to them as to why some people really do enjoy watching these type of horror films. So, with that being said and done, this Sunday I will be revisiting Melancholie de Engel with the filmmaker himself, Magnus Blondal, and journalist that he is. We will be not only discussing that, also his journalistic work, his views about extreme horror, everything really, just a discussion about everything extreme horror. So that should be up and running by next week. Please do come onto the channel and check it out. It should be really interesting. I think what we'll discuss about, if you're into the extreme horror vein of things, will be really interesting for you. I will have a numerous amount of guests on this channel. I do have Thomas Gersh, who I probably will be interviewing after Magnus Blondal, so that'll probably be within the new year. Thomas Gersh is one of the stars from a couple of Marian films, He was in Voyage to Agatis, which is one of my favourite Dora films, and he was also in one of Marian Dora's later films, Casanova. He was also in that. So Gersh is an actor. He's been in quite a lot of films. He's also making films himself now. So we'll be discussing a lot about that too, which will be great. I can't wait to hear that from him. I also have Martin Trafford, the illustrator of most extreme horror films around at the moment. I've got quite a few on the list, but I'll kind of keep them a bit on the hush-hush side for now. But please do keep your eyes and ears open for these interviews and discussions. And in the meantime, I will be reviewing different films throughout. So I think the next review will be possibly something a bit different. I'm not going to just review just extreme horror. I'm going to review some horror films that are not what you would call mainstream. So some of these films I've seen on Shudder, and there's some great horror films on there that not a lot of people would know about. So I think that would be worth, to kind of scream about and shout about, because it'll be interesting for you too. So it's not only the extreme, this is something about scream away from the mainstream. There's those films that are not mainstream. So I won't ever be talking about, say, Halloween, Final Destination, or any of that. I won't say crap. I do like some of it, but this channel is primarily for, the extreme horror stuff and horror films that are what you would not call mainstream. So that kind of gives it a bit more of a slant and angle on this channel, just to let you know. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna exit and get the hell out of here. I hope you found this interesting. If there's anything you think I should enhance about the reviews, maybe make it more entertaining or anything like that, give me a shout, give me a comment, give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. That would be awesome. Thank you, guys. And I'll keep this channel running. I'll keep reviewing, and hopefully in the meantime I can start to create some clips from films, put it in reviews. Makes it a bit more interesting in that way, doesn't it? Anyway, hope I've not rambled on too much, veered away from the context of a review. Hope this is okay. If not, give me a bad review. It's like, this guy's shit. I don't mind. It's fine. As long as it's constructive criticism, it's all good. Anyway, thanks, guys. Take care. Keep screaming. Keep believing. Love you all. Take care.